Hello, my name is Joanna for Georgia, and I am a public affairs specialist and a traffic safety educator at AAA Northeast. Today, I'm going to be teaching our bike and pedestrian safety presentation, which is a great way of engaging young children or even older, maybe more upper elementary, middle school age children about staying safe whenever they're biking or walking. And I will say this is really important information as with COVID, we've been inside for a long time. And so all of us are just looking for ways to get out and get active. So when we're talking about bike safety, there's a few things that we should know first. And the first thing is that there are some safe places for us to ride. Kind of our first place that we even learn to ride a bike is our neighborhoods. So neighborhoods tend to be pretty good places to ride, as long as they're not super well traveled. If you live on a very busy roadway, you might want to find maybe a park or somewhere else to go and ride, because busy roads do make it a little bit more difficult to ride safely. So that's something to consider. Neighborhoods are normally really great places to ride, but be sure parents to just, kind of evaluate and say, all right, are there times when there's lots and lots of cars driving around? Is my student, able to ride around without having to interact with any cars? I think that's the really big thing to remember. Now, there are other places. So there are bike paths that are great options, especially for families that want to go and ride together. I highly recommend taking a look at your local bike paths and trying to see, what you can, how you can ride together as a family. Then also we do have things called bike lanes. Now, for my younger friends, this is not the place that you would want to ride right now. Bike lanes are typically great for adults. So it's adults who have more experience biking, as they might use these bike lines to get to work. Or for other purposes as well. So I would definitely, if you're a younger person, I would hold off on going in those bike lanes. But again, I would just emphasize bike paths. Look up, go to Google, look up some local bike paths in your area, because you can really, just enjoy time being in nature, maybe invite some friends along, family, and have a great time. Now, another question that I receive a lot is about if my child's bike is the right size. And basically, a good rule is the rider should be able to sit on the seat with both feet just touching the ground. So it's okay if their heels are up a little bit, but their toes need to be able to touch the ground if they're in that seat. And I always would say, if that bike is too big for your student, you want to make sure that they grow into it before they use it. That's really important, because people riding bikes that are too big for them, it can definitely be much more difficult to ride, but also, you're more prone to falling over, to crashing into things, just because that bike is too big for that person to control. So definitely important. And this is if the seat is in the lowest position, and if you can't touch both feet to the ground, the bike is too large. Those are kind of your clues for, is this bike the right size? Now, as always, at AAA, we are going to tell you to do the safest thing. And so whenever you're on your bike, be sure to wear your bike helmet. Now, in addition to wearing your bike helmet, you want to make sure that you have it on correctly. So this is my bike helmet. I do wear it whenever I go riding. And I'm going to show you those 3 tests. So there are 3 tests to make sure you have your bike helmet on correctly. So the first one is called the eyebrow test. All right, the eyebrow test. So with this one, what you're going to do is you're going to take 2 fingers side by side. That bottom finger will go and touch your eyebrow. And that top finger should just touch the tip of the helmet. That means my bike helmet is protecting the front of my head. And I've seen a lot of students make this mistake, if the bike helmet is back here too far, It's not protecting the front of our heads. We really need it to be down a little bit lower. Then the next test is called the peace sign test. So you're going to take 2 peace signs, one in each hand. And these peace signs should go on either side of your ears. All right. This will kind of tell, are the straps nice and flat? If they're twisted, or maybe if a strap is broken, you might want to fix that or get a new bike helmet. You really need to make sure that those straps are nice and flat against your head. And then lastly, we have the chin strap. This one's super easy. Just stick up one finger. You should be able to fit one finger between your chin and the chin strap. All right. This is a great way of just making sure that it's the right level of tightness. If you can't fit one, it's too tight. But if you could fit 3 fingers, 4 fingers, that is way too loose. If your chin strap is down to your chest, way too loose. All right, 1 finger is just the right amount. So it's snug, but not too tight. All right, so make sure to do that every single time you ride your bike. Then there are certain ways. So if you're in your neighborhood or riding around and you have some cars driving around you, there are some really good communication tools that we can use when we're out biking, ways to communicate with cars and the people driving them ultimately. So I will tell you, as a person who drives, when I'm driving, I can affirm that people on bikes look really small, especially if they're a child. They look really tiny. And so we need to do everything we can to make sure that we stand out whenever we're on our bikes. But one of the ways we can kind of communicate is through hand signals. So you see this diagram of hand signals right now. And basically, this is just telling somebody, say a car is behind you, it's telling that car what they can anticipate that you're going to do. So if I stick my arm straight out, that's a left turn. If I put it up in kind of an L shape, then that means a right turn. Or I can just stick out my right arm and point to the right. And then if I'm stopping, it's kind of like an upside down L. Now, these are great ways to communicate with people who are riding around in cars and are maybe unsure what you're going to do next. And if all else fails, if you forget hand signals, just point to where you're going, stick that arm out and, just tell those people what you're doing, because that's a really important thing. And with this, please be visible, So now we might see that reflective vest up there. I realize that that's not everybody has a reflective vest at home, but probably everyone has some clothes that are brighter colors. Like this is my shirt that I wear sometimes when I'm out and about on my bike, because it's a really bright color that stands out. So this nice bright neon yellow shirt, this will certainly be eye-catching, and we want to do everything we can to be visible. And even something like a bike light, or I know there are bike helmets that have lights on them. Mine actually does some cool things. So think about stuff like that. All of that helps you stand out to somebody who's driving around in a car. All right, wear some new super bright colors, and then maybe have some lights or reflectors. Make sure all of those are on your bike. So make sure that whenever you're out and about on your bike, that you're riding safely. You want to make sure that you're following the traffic rules. If there's a stop sign, you should stop at the stop sign. And also, I will say, it's important to wear the right footwear. This is my sneaker. And it's really important to wear shoes that are nice and flat, no heels, and no flip-flops. I know it can be so tempting for students, especially. You don't want to wear those flip-flops. They can just flip-flop off your feet and get stuck in the bike wheels. Not great. So you want to wear, sneakers are a great option. Any kind of canvas shoe, those work pretty well too. But yeah, we want to avoid sandals, and we want to avoid any shoe with a heel. So that's kind of my last tips for biking safely. Now, when it comes to walking safely, and we know people are out and about walking more than ever before. So some things that we want you to know is that there are benefits to walking, but we want to know that there are some things that can cause, tricky situations for pedestrians, which a pedestrian is somebody who's out and about walking. And we want to make sure that we know any behaviors that are not so great for walking. And, we want to make sure we can walk safely and confidently around our neighborhoods or, around any location. So if we think about why we walk, there are so many benefits to it. Keeps us active, it strengthens our bones and muscles. It improves our mood, especially when it's great weather outside. It's a huge mood uplifter. And then also you can get to know your community a little bit better. I know I love walking around my city because I get to learn so much. I get to admire people's flowers and lawns and stuff like that. So it's a great way to get out and about, stay active, and get to know your community. But we do know there's some things we should keep in mind, especially when it comes to pedestrians, that, there are pedestrians that get hurt because maybe they're not paying attention or they're not walking safely, or they're not very noticeable. So we just want to do the best we can to anticipate any hazards that might happen when we're walking. And we do know that there are some specific times when pedestrians can get hurt. So most of the time it's when it's dark outside, when somebody's walking and it's nighttime, that's when your risk can go up a little bit more. And then they typically happen in places where people don't normally walk. All right. So, kind of more rural locations, around town, but not in places where there's a sidewalk or a walking path. All right. Those are, pretty safe places. So it's not those places. So here's the thing. We do see a problem with distracted walking. Now you might be looking at this and going, how is a hoodie, a bad thing to wear when you're walking? Well, here's the thing. When people are wearing their hoods, it can block their periphery vision. That's your side vision, where you kind of notice, cars could be coming that way, or other things. So when you're doing that, just make sure your hood is back a little bit so it doesn't cut off your periphery vision. You don't want it over our faces or anything like that. And then if you do have your phone out, I would recommend, not looking or staring at it, not having it in front of you the whole time. Really, if you need to message somebody, stop, take a break for a second and just shoot them a message and then continue walking. So that way you're not trying to do multiple things. We've all seen the videos of people who have been texting and walking or sending messages or filming, and they walk straight into a pole, which is funny, but they can really get hurt. So we don't want that to happen. We don't want people to be distracted walkers. And then also headphones. Headphones, obviously you're listening to something. So that can be a real impact on your walk and your safety, because we can hear things like fire engines. We can hear things like cars. And so being aware of our surroundings is actually incredibly important for staying safe when we're walking. So I recommend, if you're going to have those headphones in and have your beats going, I would recommend just using one and having it in one ear, and it should be the ear that's further away from traffic. We want the ear that's closer to the road. That one should be free to listen to any cars or things like that. And also, you don't necessarily need your headphones. You can always just have something going while you're walking around. So that way you can kind of make sure that you're hearing multiple things. Now, as always, be sure to walk in safe places like sidewalks. Sidewalks are important. They are the place that are designated for us to walk on. And I do realize that not every road has a sidewalk. So here's the rule of thumb. If your road does not have a sidewalk on it, make sure you're walking on the left side of the road. The left side of the road. Okay, so that way you can see the cars as they're coming and they can see you as you're walking along. All right, so it's great because you don't just have to use your hearing, you're actually seeing as the cars are coming. Then I would always say when you get to something like a stop sign or a traffic light and it's time to cross, be sure to look in a very certain way, okay? Left, then right, then left again, okay? Left, right, and left. And there's a reason why we do this. We do this because we're looking for any cars and saying, are there any cars coming this way? You look the other way, check, are there any cars this way? And then you check one more time. Be sure to do that double check because there can be times when cars might be going pretty fast and you do that initial check and you don't see anything and then a car comes. So just be sure to always do that double check, left and right, then left again. And I would always say as well, cross at a safe location. Like a safe location is always a crosswalk, especially the ones where you can push the button and it will light up either the walk symbol or the stop symbol. That is a great place, super safe place to cross the road. Another would be a traffic light. Traffic lights typically have crosswalks associated with them, so that's a great place. And then also a stop sign. Stop signs are at intersections, so those ones are the best places to cross, okay? All right. Now, never assume that somebody sees you. When somebody is in a car, again, if you are walking, kind of like what I said earlier about biking, you look this tiny. So you never want to assume that people see you. So just always be sure to be patient when you're walking, especially when you're crossing the street. Don't rush it. Just make sure that you're able to have time or that walking symbol whenever you're crossing. And then kind of again, similarly to biking, if you're walking, you want to wear bright colors that help you stand out. And I will say it's even like an extra tool, especially if it's kind of around dusk, it's great to have a flashlight. Those can help you, be noticed by vehicles, but also it can brighten your way so that you can know where you're going. And we talked about this a little bit before, but one other thing I'd like to mention is that say you're at a crosswalk, don't assume that driver sees you. Maybe try to make eye contact with them, give them a little wave just to indicate what your next move is, okay? We can thank drivers, especially if they've stopped for us as pedestrians. That's a great move to do. And just always be sure to obey the crossing signals, use crosswalks, never cross between parked cars. So if you have two cars there, your body is mostly going to be blocked. So nobody will be able to see you. And as you step out, it could be the first time that somebody glimpses you. So that can be a very dangerous situation. Never cross between two parked cars. It's really difficult for drivers to see you. Now, just last reminders, be alert, put those cell phones down, don't message, don't TikTok, don't do any of those things when you're walking. And be sure to, be listening to your surroundings. And then if we're thinking about making our communities even more pedestrian friendly, I think the first thing that you can do is really talk to your friends and family about it. I recommend not walking alone if you don't have to. Always nice to walk with friends and family members because we do know that you're more noticeable if you're in a group, and you're less likely to be, with that cell phone out. You're less likely to be doing that. You're more likely to be engaged in your walk. Talk to your family about what you as a family can do to be safer when you're walking. That could be anything like wearing bright colors, all of that. Talk with your family about it. Talk to your schools, like your teachers, so that they can encourage safe walking habits. And lastly, you could always talk to law enforcement. So police officers, and if you're walking in your community and you notice something, you notice there's one stop sign that tons of drivers seem to always speed through. And they don't seem to look and see if there's a pedestrian. Let police know. They want to help. They want to make your community safer. So that's always a good plan. All right, so that's about it for me. Please make sure that you're walking safely, wear those bright colors, pay attention when you're walking, and enjoy the outdoors. So again, it's me, Joanna from AAA. If you have any questions, feel free to just let your librarians know and they'll get them to me. Take care and have an awesome summer.